Riders, welcome to Canyon HQ and the brand new Neuron ONfly, the first sub 20 kilo e-bike from Canyon. Let's check it out. Riders, welcome back to Sam's Bikes, where you know we only talk e-bikes. And over the next 2 days, it's all about the brand new sub 20 kilo e-bike from Canyon, the Neuron ONfly. So first up, we're going to go over all the specs, and this is the bike I'm actually going to be testing. Then it's POV style, but it's a mini review because I was actually on the bike for 2 days, did a fair bit of Ks, and there's a lot of information there. So it's a mini review. Then it's back to Madrid for my conclusion, what I love, what I don't love so much, and is it the right e-bike for you? Now let's check out the specs. So the brand new Canyon Neuron ONfly is rolling on 29 wheels, 140 up front and 140 in the rear, powered by the Bosch SX motor with 55 Newton meters of torque and 600 watts of peak power, and a 400 watt hour internal battery, and you can also get the 250 watt hour range extender, adding 1.6 kilos to the weight. And the bike I've been testing is smack bang on 19 kilos, available in 5 sizes and coming in 4 models. And get this, riders, the entry level model is coming in sub 5,000 euros. And what about those geometry numbers? Reach numbers in a medium is 460, head tube angle 64.5, seat tube angle 76.5, and a chain stay of 450. So there you go, riders, that's the bike. Time to head out on the trails and see how it stacks up. But first, a massive shout out to Quadlock, a long-term sponsor of ours. I absolutely love having my Quadlock on my handlebars, and you'll see it in the POV footage. I'm using it as a teleprompter. I had all my notes from day one and I went through it just to make it really clear for you riders what I thought of this bike. So massive shout out to Quadlock and riders, a 10% discount code in the show notes. Now let's get out to the trails. And riders, we are out on the Canyon Neuron ONfly. We've been on it 2 days. As I said, I'm in Germany on the press camp. And I'm going to say, riders, if you think you're a good rider, come to a press camp. You're going to get put in your place. We got the who's who of the European media here, and they can all ride really well. But it doesn't matter. We are here to geek out 100% about the Canyon Neuron ONfly. So, recap of the bike. It's 140, 29ers. It's coming in at just like, it's right on 19 kilos, the top spec. Whoa, it's a bit slushy here. Oh, it must have rained overnight. So yeah, coming in at 19 kilos, and it is, the cliff notes is, it's an absolute little rocket ship. I mean, I love short travel 29ers. Like this is 140, and it's just like on the right trails, this bike absolutely rips. Super stiff frame, stable, and when you hit it on the right trails, you can pump it. It definitely feels like an analog bike, but you've had like more Red Bulls than Ronan done on a downhill weekend. And when you look at it, definitely the styling of the bike, I think it's beautiful. You can tell it's an e-bike. It's maybe not as minimalistic as some of the others. And why are you going a short travel 29er? Well, riders, if you want to feel everything on the trail and feel alive, like the short travel, it really, like, you're gonna be like, you know the saying, overbiked? Well, with less travel, you feel more. It actually makes you feel like you're there. Sometimes the big enduro bikes, unless you have massive trails, you are overbiked and it dumbs things down a little bit. And if you put it up against the original full-powered Neuron On, they're shaved off about 4 kilos, and you can definitely feel it on the trail because it's just more nimble, more maneuverable. It's quite a lot of fun. So first up, let's talk, oh, little jump. First up, let's talk the weight. So 19 kilos, 140, 29er SL e-bike. you're probably going to say it's not that light. You might be thinking that. And when I saw that, I thought the same. I was like, oh, it's not that light. But the Bosch SX system isn't that light. I mean, the whole thing comes in at 4 kilos. But I'm going to say, like, 18, 19 kilos is kind of the sweet spot for an e-bike SL, I reckon. Because, well, for the way I like to ride, because they're just more planted, they're more stable. And now the staples, how does it ride out in the trails? First off, we'll start as a trail bike. It is a little whippet, stiff, stable, fast, reactive. And, you know, I love short travel 29ers. They just rock on the right trails. And Canyon are gonna love me saying this, it's more pilot, less passenger. And that goes back to what I'm saying about being overbiked on some trails. And now, obviously, when you finish the trail, how does it climb? Well, I mean, we've got a 450 chain stay, rolling on 29ers. I think it is a, what is it, a 76.5 seat tube angle. It climbs really well. And obviously the stack height and the, whoa, slippery root. Obviously the stack height having the 140 at the front just puts you in a great position. And now let's go into enduro trails. And the guys at Canyon have been trying to jump. And the guys at Canyon definitely like warmed us up on some trail tracks. And then I'm gonna say some of the trails were quite enduro. And you'd be surprised. I mean, 140, but it's a 64.5 degree head tube angle. So it is reasonably slack, or quite slack for a trail bike. If you're off the brakes and you let the bike go, it feels pretty good. You definitely find your limit. Like if the trails are too hard, you will find your limit, but it does it pretty well. Also gonna mention, when it was steep and gnarly, like it felt composed, but I did find the back wheel with my butt a few times. Now, how does a little pocket rocket jump? Well, it's a 29er, it's short travel, it jumps really well. Look, you know, like when you have less travel, you don't have to preload the suspension as much. I think my favorite style of bikes for jumping are short travel 29ers. They seem to hold their speed well, very predictable in the air. And would we be taking it to a bike park? I'm gonna say that is a definite no. Now, grab an enduro or a downhill bike and you'll be much happier. And suspension, well, I had 2 days on it. Did a little bit of tweaking, super rough there. Did a bit of tweaking on the first day. I found it easy to set up. On trails, in its element, it's perfect. On some of the enduro trails, I did G out quite aggressively a few times, but you know, that's expected because we don't have a lot of travel. But, you know, overall, the frame felt very stiff. I'm gonna say on the right trails, the suspension did ramp up, did feel like it had nice support in the mid-stroke, and I didn't seem to harshly bottom it out too many times. But you know, it's 2 days on the bike, riders. I need more testing. And now let's go into the motor, the Bosch SX. So the whole motor weighs 4 kilos, and we've got 55 Newton meters of torque and 600 watts of peak power. But you can only access that peak power when your cadences are around 90 to, I believe, 110 or 120. It's a really interesting concept for me from Bosch because, you know, when you are riding it at the lower cadences about 50, it feels like a super light. And then when you lift those cadences up, it doesn't feel like a full power, but it kind of feels like a hybrid between a full power and a super light. Really interesting concept and how they've engineered that. And I know all you riders want to know, does the motor rattle? Well, I'm gonna say if you are riding, whoa, that's clagged. If you are riding like harder enduro trails, you do hear a small rattle. Let's see if you can hear it. Whoa. Almost went off the track to give you guys the rattle. You got a little jump here. Phew. So yeah, there is a rattle. I wouldn't say it's as prominent as some of the other motors, but there is there. And what about range? Well, on the first half a day, we did about 720 meters of vert, think it was about 25 Ks, and I was pretty much done. The battery was done, I was done. So you're gonna get about that. I was riding in full turbo the whole time. So if you're fitter, lighter, you're gonna get more range. Don't forget, you can put in the 250 watt-hour range extender that weighs, I believe, 1.6 kilos. So that's gonna give you more than 50% more range. And what else? Yeah, the battery is internal. You can take it out. You're gonna have to drop the motor. Probably gonna take you half an hour, but not really designed to take out. And you're probably thinking, how much less power does the SX have from the original CX, the full powered? Well, we did a nasty hill climb, which I came last in. So on the SX, I got 1 minute, oh, jump, another jump. I got 1 minute 17, and on the full power, I got 1:07. So there's 7 seconds in it. But a major thing I did notice, when I was over the limiter on the SX, I really didn't feel that disengagement. It was definitely more seamless and not as much drag. Not a lot of drag at all. And on the CX, when I did go over the limiter, so the full power, I did feel that drag. So definitely the SX is better for when you're over the limiter. Okay, riders, I've been told we're going back to Canyon HQ to check out more things there. And so the ride is pretty much over, but don't worry, we're gonna go back to Madrid and we're gonna do our conclusion, what we think of the, what we think of the bike, not all gravy, the sizing, the specs, the models, all that. So riders, I'll see you there. And now we're back home in Madrid, and a massive shout out to Canyon for inviting us out for this release. Had a lot of fun. Now let's go into sizing. So I'm 183 centimeters and I opted for the medium with a 460 reach. I could have gone the large with 485, but because it's a short travel 29er trail bike, I like a more playful bike, so I went for the medium. I found it a perfect fit for me, a lot of fun. I wouldn't be sizing up to the large because I like a playful bike. But riders, first point of call would be to go off the Canyon website, and if you are right in between sizes, like I am, I would go for the size up if you want a more stable bike and maybe you're a newer rider, and size down if you want a more playful bike. And now to the models, and Canyon are offering 4 models in the Neuron ONfly. We have the CF7 at an impressive 4,849 euros. Then we have the CF8, 5,599 euros. And then we have the CF9, 6,999 euros. And the model that I was riding, the CF Limited Edition, 7,999 euros. If you're a fan of the channel, you'd know I have a section, not all gravy, the things I don't love about the bikes. But I'm changing that. I'm gonna start saying what I love and what I don't love so much. A little bit fairer. So first up, what do I love? I love the natural feeling of this bike. It really reminds me of my 6-year-old Phantom Banshee, which was a 120, 105 trail bike, 29ers. I absolutely love it. And this bike really is reminiscent of that with a 64-degree head tube angle. It is more capable than it might look on paper. It is a lot of fun. I also love the Bosch SX motor. It's a natural feeling pedal stroke. It really rewards the mountain biker, but the more you put in, the more cadence, the more it ramps up to that 600 watts. It is a really great concept from Bosch. And I also love the price point, sub 5,000 euros for the entry-level SL. That has to be one of, if not the cheapest SLs on the market. And I also love it is available in 5 sizes. Now, what I don't love so much, I think this bike is screaming 150 at the front, maybe some 36s as well, because the bike is really capable. I just think 150 at the front might make it a little bit better, and I wasn't the only one at the press camp that thought that. And the rattle from the SX motor, it's not bad, but it is there. And the tyres, right brand with the Shorby tyres. But if it was me and my bike, I'd be putting some more aggressive tyres, something like the Taki-chan front and back. And onto suspension. So the top of the line limited edition I was riding had the Fit 4 dampener from Fox, which is a more basic dampener. It is easier to set up. I do understand why Canyon have gone there. But if it was me and I was dropping 8 grand on an e-bike, I would definitely prefer the Grip 2. And now my last point, the weight. So it's coming in at 19 kilos for a 140 front and rear 29er super light e-bike. It's not exactly a super light e-bike if you compare it to other of the e-bikes in the same category. But as I said out in the trails, the bike rides light, and that 18 to 19 kilos, I think, for this style of e-bike is the sweet spot because it is playful, but at the same time, it does help it stay planted. Okay, so who is the Neuron ONfly for? Well, I see it perfect for a rider that is looking for the natural ride, so maybe coming from an analog bike, looking for a little bit of help up in the mountains. I also see it perfect for maybe a smaller rider that might feel overwhelmed with the e-bikes, the full powered 23, 24, 25 kilos, because this bike is much easier to move around the trails. And also, the lighter, smaller rider is really going to feel that power to weight ratio with the 600 watts of peak power. I also see it perfect for the aggressive mountain biker that doesn't want to be overbiked. So at the right place, like at a trail center, like my local El Pardo, it would be an absolute beast there because you feel everything. You can really like hook into the corners. It really is a fun bike to ride at the right places. Okay, legend riders, I hope you're still with me. On to the conclusion of the Canyon Neuron ONfly. I think Canyon have knocked it out of the park. This is a sensational, fun SL that really makes you feel alive when you're on the trails. Now, when I was speaking to the engineers, they said this bike was inspired by the after work rides. They didn't want to be overbiked. They wanted a bike that they really knew they were on the trails. And I think they'd nailed it. But if this is the after work bike, I'm going to say Canyon need to release the happy hour, the Friday night happy hour bike with 36s at the front, 150 and a range extender. And if they do that, sign me up, send me one out. It will definitely go in the stable. And anyway, riders, I hope you enjoyed that first look. I think Canyon are going to send it out to me. So I'll be doing the long-term thoughts of that. Anyway, riders, if you have any questions, like always, hit me up and stay safe out there, and we're going to see you next week.